Christmas with You, Netflix with Amy Garcia, Freddie Prinze Jr. It is
Freddie Prinze, baby.
Yeah, I think it's 20. I think it's #1 in 26 countries and top 10 in 80 countries.
Let's go. Let's
go. Yo, wild.
Let's
right?
go.
Like, that's wild. I'm like, okay, we up.
This is back to your story.
I hit my rental car last night. Bro, what the fuck you want, man?
Yeah. Why are you wasting my time?
Yeah.
Isn't it so weird, like when you set up Do Not Disturb, but the calls still come through?
Yeah, it's the what's the point? It's not. This is not Do Not Disturb.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's like I have like the focus settings on my iPhone, and like I have select people that I can call through, like my wife or Tyler, or like you know, just in case of emergency or whatever. But for some reason, every so often I'll get like a telemarketer call to just come through, and I'm like, what's going on here?
This is not Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
This is okay. We'll let you disturb.
Yeah, exactly. I hate
You're not
that
doing
shit.
shit.
I know. How we doing, Tyler?
We're good. We're ready.
All right, baby boy. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Yes, sir.
How we doing?
Brother, you know, I'm doing all right. Although I did go to the DMV the other day and they said I can't see. So
What they say, your ass is blind.
yeah, pretty much. They say you didn't pass the driver's test because you can't see. So or the eye test, so we can't renew your license.
Shit.
But so yeah, I had to go to optometrist today.
Wait,
So,
what?
Yeah, man.
They could not renew your license.
Well, yeah, they gave me a temporary one because they were like, yo, I think it was just a bad day because I didn't sleep that much. You know what I mean? And I've noticed my vision change a little bit over the last few months, but I definitely was like covering my eye. I'm like, oh, she was like, take a look, check, tell me what you see. And I'm like, I'm trying to squeeze and squint. I'm like, I can't see this shit. So yeah, man, that's really all that's going on, man. Trying to get my eyes right.
Yeah, there we go. Dude, it's so crazy talking about eyes because I remember like a few years back, my wife and I was getting some new glasses and I was at the optometrist and they were doing all those tests and all this like weird funky shit. And they're like, okay, look at this thing. And they're like, okay. And it's like all these like colors and dots and all this shit. And they're like, do you see a number in there? And I was like, yeah, I see like a 7. And they're like, okay, do you see the next one? It was like an 8. And by like the 3rd or 4th one, my wife, she hits me on my shoulders and she goes, bro, quit fucking around. And I was like, what are you talking about? And the lady goes, oh, he's not messing around. He's colorblind as shit. She's like, bro, you can't see those? And I was like, no, I can't. Because like the 3 was like literally like an 11. The 4 was like a 9, right? And so I was just getting them all wrong. And it's just because I'm colorblind as shit.
Well, well, there you go. You found out the answer.
Oh, I already knew the answer.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know that test per se was telling me if I was colorblind or not.
Right.
But it was just so funny because my wife totally thought I was fucking with the lady.
You playing around?
No, hell no.
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. Like, why would I want? You know what I mean? Why would I mess around with my eyesight?
Dude, I was behind the chair for like doing hair like for many years, and I had to stop doing color because every single time I would do it, it would come out so fucking wrong because I am colorblind as shit.
No way.
Oh hell yes.
So you got people coming in for a red and they coming out leaving pink.
Yeah, 100%.
No way.
100%. 100%. So that's why I stuck to the cutting and then stuck to the business side of the hair world.
Do you know what color your hair is right now?
I think it's purple.
There we go.
Oh, you want to hear another crazy story? Listen to this shit. So I've been going through like this whole bleaching process because I want to make my hair silver.
Right.
And so I just got it to this color because you want to do them in steps because you don't want to fry out your hair.
Right, yeah.
So like the first one, because my hair is pretty freaking dark, and so we got it to like kind of like a brassy blonde. And so then I went in for the second step, which was 2 days ago, which got to this color, which is pretty there. It's almost there. Yeah. Next one, I'll be able to put the silver in. But so I wake up in the morning, not really thinking about it. I'm doing my hair. I start walking out of the house. My wife, she looks at me. She goes, "Why is your hair blue?" And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No way.
She goes, what? And I thought she was fucking with me, right? And she's like, why is your hair blue? And I was like, it's not blue. And she goes, look in the mirror. So I go look in the mirror and I have like blue all throughout my fucking, I do blue all throughout my hair because the hair product that I was using was blue. And when you get your hair bleached out, it's very porous. So it sucks everything in. So dude, I'm like freaking the fuck out. So I like hop in the shower. I'm like trying to scrub it out. I get out, I blow dry my hair, still blue. And it's just like if you ever got like paint on something and you're like smudging it. So just like making it worse and worse and worse. So then eventually on the 5th time I get like Dawn dish soap, which is like terrible for your freaking hair. Perfect for ducks that get stuck in oil spills, but terrible for hair. So so eventually I got it out, but it had like a little green tinge to it.
Yeah, just it's art, baby.
It is definitely art. I gotta get this gum out of my mouth.
All good.
Fuck it. So, dude, for the people just tuning in right now, why don't you do a brief introduction?
Yeah. Well, my name is Lowell. Everybody, my friends and family call me L.J, but my stage name or actor name is Lawrence J. Hughes. My whole name is Lawrence Joseph Hughes, named after my father and my grandfather. My middle name, my grandfather. My first name, my father. From the Bay Area, man. Born in Oakland. Lived out there for a little bit. Raised in Antioch, California. So went back and forth between the two cities. And, played football, baseball, sports my whole life growing up as a kid, man. Yeah. And living the dream of a kid, and just trying to do whatever you can to, play outside with your friends. And that's what kind of sucked me in was sports, just to be able to go out there and be free and to just to really create as an athlete, you know what I mean? Kind of is where it got me started down that path. And, now here we are after, many years of, going through sports and trying to figure out what it is that I want to do and being denied and being denied and being denied and being denied again. And, going through some things as a kid and as a young youth, young man. And now I'm down here in LA, man. Been here for 9 years. Will be 10 next year. So shout out to all the people who have made it to a decade. You know what I mean? So it's exciting to have that little chip on my shoulder to know that I've made it. We will have made it that far. Yeah. And really just been trying to, continually every day to get my feet under me, man. And luckily over the last year and some change, I've been able to find a little bit of more light, you know what I'm saying? In multiple ways, you know what I mean? And now here we are, going on to what I feel like is a very important year for me, and also finishing the rest of this year out very strong. So I'm happy, man. I'm blessed. I'm literally grateful to be alive, to be honest. And I'm just grateful to be able to be sitting here, man. Yeah, man. Sitting here and getting this in with you.
Dude, I absolutely love that. So your forte these days is acting.
That is,
yes.
That is the forte.
How does was that always something that you wanted to do? Like, because I know sports was a big part of your life for so long. Yeah. What made the pivot for you to go from sports and then to obviously acting?
Well, excuse me. It's funny you say that because, when people, and I'm a firm believer in this, right? When you dive into something wholeheartedly, I'm a believer in that you should, if you really want to do it, if you're passionate about it, that you shouldn't have a plan B, right? Yeah. That should be your plan A, and you give it everything you got, right? There's no falling back, right? Yeah. But for me, which is funny enough, my mom tried to get me into acting when I was a kid, right? So she would take me to auditions, commercial auditions, and she would have to bribe me with pizza because as a kid, I didn't want to go. You know what I mean? And I was a heavy set kid, so you gave me some pizza, I'm all about it. You know
let's
what
go.
I'm saying? Let's get it. But my thing was sports, and I think a lot of my love for sports really came from my father. And my parents, I grew up in a separate home. My parents were divorced. I don't think I ever remember them being together. So that was, I lived with my mom. So that was my connection with my pops, you know what I mean? And him kind of introducing me to baseball and to football and to basketball. We would go to Raider games a lot, you know what I mean? All the time. And that was one of the things that I remember when I was young. So I think my love of sports not only came from being fully immersed in it by him, but came from trying to, strengthen our friendship. Our relationship as son and dad, So I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. But my mom always said, you're going to come back to this, the acting thing. Cause I told her, I was like, no, I'm good. So fast forward a few years, my goal and my dreams had always been, I want to play pro, whether it be baseball or football. That's it. That was plan A for me, professional athlete, period. And I was smart. I had good grades, 3.5 and up, usually always, you know what I mean? So it wasn't just like I was out here playing sports and not really paying attention to the academics, because that was important to my parents too, and to me. If you're going to do it, you got to make sure you do it all the way around. Yeah. So I ended up getting recruited to play football. I had to go to a junior college first because I had to change positions because of my height that I played in high school. was a little bit of an underdog, so I didn't get recruited because of my size. So I had to go to junior college and play linebacker and switch my position. I had to learn that in an instant.
Dang.
You know, in junior college, you get 2 seasons, you know what I mean? And I'm having to learn a whole new position within, you know, really 20 games, you know, if that. In the first 10 games of the season, I didn't really get to play much because I had an All-American in front of me.
Yeah.
So I'm learning from him, though, you know. So that was the original dream. And then I get to the University of San Diego, got recruited, luckily, thankfully, got there to continue, you know, my career and to continue my education at a really good school. And when I got there, I had to, one semester, fulfill an elective. I had to fulfill an elective just to get my courses for the semester. And the academic counselor was kind of like, yo, you know, what electives are you thinking? You know, you need one more. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, what do you think? And he's like, oh, you know, well, we could try like dance or we could do this. I'm like, no, like I'm cool. And he goes, what about acting? I was like, all right, yeah. Like my mom tried to get me in it when I was a kid. Yeah, sure. Like I'll give it a try. You know, let's do it. And so I get into this class and, you know, in the beginning, I'm like, okay, this is cool. It's fun. I'm able to express myself and I'm actually in there with other teammates at the same time. And it came at the right time too, because when I was in college, when I got to college, I had already had 2 wrist surgeries. So I already had to sit out 1 year because I couldn't pass a physical because my wrist wouldn't bend.
Yeah.
It's just locked in place like that. So I had to have another surgery to clean it out and do all this other stuff. And then I finally get healthy and I'm getting a chance to get on the field. Then I tear my meniscus in my knee. You know what I mean? And then so then I go through that and get through that. And then I tear my meniscus in my other knee. And my experience with my college experience was very, well, I will get to that, but let me just finish that. But it was, I remember one day in class, specifically in this acting class, and we were doing some exercise. And I was just like, oh, this is interesting. And the teacher is like, I forgot exactly what the exercise was, but all I remember is I'm laying on the ground and I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like bawling. I'm like, wow, I'm crying. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Never really experienced anything like this before. And the teacher, I don't know if this was appropriate of her or not, but she's standing over me and she's like, more. And I just remember looking at her being like, oh my God, yeah, you're right, boy. I'm just crying. Oh my God, I'm looking at her. And I remember like what she's wearing and exactly to this day. Wow. And for me, you know, some people would look at that moment and think like, man, like, you know, the teacher was, you know, blah, blah, blah. She was, you know, traumatizing you. And I looked at it as, because once we were done with the exercise, I felt like I had experienced something. Yeah. And what I had experienced for me was not only my first experience as an artist, but to me, it felt like it was my message that was being sent to me as clear as day, as this is why you're here. Wow. And I felt something in my spirit that I had never really felt at that point in my life, not at a football practice, not at a baseball practice, not at a football game, baseball game, anything. And I remember walking out of that class that day feeling like, this is it, bro. This is where you need to go. This is it. Whatever else happens, this was it. And it was so, it was very, it's tough to describe. It was just very, it was very moving, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it was very therapeutic. Yeah. And it came right at the time when I needed it. And, you know, even then, after that experience, I had a really, really, you know, I had really dark moments in college. But that moment was one of the moments that I'll never forget. That from then on was like, that's what I want to do. And from there, graduated, all that, moved out to LA 6 months after graduation. And I've been on the grind nonstop.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah, man, it's wild.
What do you think that is that got inside of you at that moment, right? Because we all go through things in life, and some people say it's God, some people say it's this, some people say it's that, you know, but there are clear defining moments in an individual's life that can open their eyes up unlike any other experience in their life. Yeah. What is that to you?
For me, it's God. You know, I was born and raised and grew up in the church. I don't go to church anymore for reasons with things that happened with the church in my family, and just kind of the way they treated my family sometime after so many years of us going to that church. And I haven't found a spiritual home like that since then, you know, and it kind of deterred me away a little bit from church, going to church. My mom still goes, you know, but my family are the ones who instilled faith in me, right? Yeah. My grandparents, my mom, my dad, they always have instilled faith in me and believing and praying. I call me and my mom get on the phone every Monday at around 7 a.m. in the morning. We pray together on the phone for the week. We pray with each other, pray over each other. You know, we'll switch. Her turn this week, my turn this week, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know what I mean? And, you know, for me, that's what it is for me. For somebody else, could be whatever. You know what I mean? But for me, that's what it's been. You know what I mean? I've always felt like that I've had a relationship with God, and I always feel like that whenever, especially if I'm open, right? Because, you know, you do have to be open mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you know, to be able to receive any type of message or anything that may be coming your way. And sometimes you won't. Sometimes it just slap you in your face. You know what I mean? But that's what it is for me, and that's what it felt like. You know what I mean? Because it was a feeling that I still have a little bit of a hard time explaining exactly what it was, because it felt very otherworldly inside of my body, and like I was just like, yo, is this real? Like what's going on? And for me, that's what the answer was, man. Yeah. You know, that's what it's been. So, you know, my faith is important to me, and I like to just try to ground myself in that, you know. So yeah,
that's really important, man. And I think that what you and your mom do on Mondays is church.
Yeah,
right.
You're right.
Right? Do you actually need a place to go to call it church? Right. No. I think that that's in your heart and your soul. Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, and so by you and your mother doing that together on a weekly basis, I mean that's what that is.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody has ever put it that way before.
No, that's just the way I thought about it. Right. Yeah. And so it is unfortunate that a lot of people have these experiences where they have faith, but then issues within the church deter them or push them away.
100%, man. Yeah, you know, the issues are the issues. You know, there are a lot of issues with church, obviously, you know, in our society right now. Yeah. And I completely understand. You know what I mean? I completely understand the issues that people have. So, you know, and I'm not one of the people who I don't try to push anything on anybody. You know what I mean? My main thing is what I try to do is I try not to judge anybody for wherever they are or whoever they are, because I want to be your ultimate hype man. Yeah. You know what I mean? In whatever way in life, I want to hype you up. You know what I mean? I want to encourage you. I don't want to sit here and be like, you're not that. Like, nah. I mean, that's not what I was put here for. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in that business. You know what I mean? I'm in the love business. I'm not in the hate business. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me, bro. You know
Absolutely.
What I'm saying? But yeah.
Is it weird looking back, your mother telling you that you were going to get back to acting and it happened?
Yeah. You know, they say moms know best.
Yeah, that's true.
So she moved down to LA in March of 2021. Right. And she, you know, moved for various reasons. But one of the reasons was she felt like she needed to be closer to me during this time. Yeah. Which I was like, okay, I don't know what she means by this time. I don't know what is telling her that, you know, something's going on this time for her to be close. But, you know, now with some of the success I've had, you know, over the last year and some change, I've made it a promise to myself that I want her at every single thing that she can possibly attend, because I think that is the reason why she came down, and that is the reason whatever something was telling her, you know, that she needed to be by my side. And so to me, it is very surreal where it was planted in my head by her at a very, very young age. And now here we are, you know what I mean? Lock and step. Yeah. She's living in LA. I'm here pursuing what she told me I was gonna do for a living. And now it's like, you know, it is wild to think about, you know what I mean? It is wild to think about, but I really do feel like all my experiences up until this point molded me and got me ready and prepared me for this and prepared me for where I am now.
Yeah. I absolutely love that your mom's so supportive.
Super.
Right. You know, a lot of people, there are a lot of people out there that go through life that have very unsupportive parents, right? And they don't see
Especially in the arts.
Yeah. Especially in the arts. That is a fact. What is it about acting that it draws you to this craft, right? There's many people have different answers, but like, what is that answer to you?
I think it is the ability to inspire, right? The ability to take on a character, or, you know, right. So a lot of people say, you know, acting, you know, you need an ego to be a good actor and things like that. Yeah, of course, you need to believe in yourself. I think, you know what I mean? If you don't believe in yourself, who the fuck's going to believe in you? Nobody's going to come pay to watch you do anything if you don't believe in yourself. Of course not. Right. And of course, there are insecurities that come along with that. But I think that not only to be able to inspire, but to take a moment to step outside of yourself and to be selfless for a moment and to step into somebody else's journey and bring that journey to life and bring that truth to life is what it is for me. You know what I mean? And also too, man, make people fucking laugh and cry and, you know, and entertain people, just have a good time, you know what I mean? Because there's always a deeper thing to it, but at the same time, it's also like, I want to, you know, entertain people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've always got up and told stories in front of people. When I played football or whatever, I was the captain. I'm like trying to rally the troops, you know what I mean? Let's go, let's get it, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of always been a little bit of my MO, you know what I mean? And I think that's, for me, what it is, you know what I mean? I just honestly, like, bro, I just love doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's really the answer to, like, I just love doing it. When I'm in it and I'm doing it, I feel more free than anything else I've ever done in my life. I think that's it. You know, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I love that. When you decided to make that pivot, right, and you had that experience, what was it like leaving home and moving out here to a place where there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of individuals doing the very same exact thing? It's a very cutthroat industry.
Well, I'll rewind it back a little bit and get
Let's
to
go,
that.
rewind it.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, my college experience was, it was good. I met a lot of cool people and I had a lot of friends to this day. And, you know, I found my passion and things like that. But my college experience was really dark, to be real. There were times when, you know, I had a couple of surgeries, and post surgeries, you know, I was addicted to pain pills. Nobody knew, you know what I mean? And then when I finally was able to wean myself off of them, I was selling the pain pills. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it ain't, you know what I mean? There's neither one of them is really, you know what I'm saying? You know, so it's like, you know, so that, and then the issues I had with my coaches at the school, you know, coming close to like fighting one of them after a game and having to be broken up by teammates, and just not really in the best space as a young man. You know, I remember calling my mom and my dad in tears, just like, you got to get me the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? And I never talked to my parents like that. You know what I mean? And I was just like bawling. They were like, yo, what's going on? But wildly enough, man, I was able to stay and still work through all these dark ass times and emotions and feelings, you know what I mean? And was able to come through. So there was really, when I decided that I was going to jump into acting, it was kind of already like, I was like, look, man, like, dream number one already didn't work out, bro. You know what I mean? And to be real, did you give it everything you had with dream number one? And at times I had to admit, because, you know, when I was young, I wanted to blame everybody else. Yeah. This person did this. This coach not playing me. Blah, 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 blah. But was I studying my playbook every day? No. Was I going out and partying sometimes too much instead of going to physical therapy to rehab my surgery, to rehab, you know what I mean? Yes. You know what I mean? I wasn't as locked in as I had been in the past. And I got distracted, you know what I mean? Which,
it's understandable.
You're in San Diego, man. Yeah. I'm going to school in San Diego, you know, 19, 20, 21 years old. So I'm like, yo, let's go get it.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I stepped, when I decided to go, you know, I'm going to make what that time was like. It was like, look, I'm going here. Plan A, plan A for me. Plan B technically for my plan A was plan A for my mom was acting, but the football sports was plan B for her. But plan A sports for me didn't work out. My dream of my entire life had already been taken away, and I gave it away too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it just wasn't meant to be. It's not like, well, actually, you know what? I didn't take it away or give it away. It just wasn't it.
Wasn't in the cards.
Wasn't in the cards. You know what I mean? So I was completely like raw and open, and I was like, look, bro, like, you know what? If there's one thing, that you feel like you can give your all to, because I was also being a hype man for my friend who was a DJ. So we would go around and do clubs and parties and bars in San Diego and sorority and fraternity events, and I'd be on the mic, hyping up the party. And I was kind of like, well, you've been doing entertainment. Like, just give it all you got, bro. Like, this time, really give it all you got. And if you do get distracted, cool. But be kind to yourself when you do. You know what I'm saying? And you can bounce back and get back right on the right track. So that was really kind of how I approached it, with like no holds barred. Like, you got it. You've already on plan B technically anyway. Yeah. And, not too many people took kindly to that, which I really don't care, you know what I mean? Clearly. But a lot of people were like, bro, have you ever acted before? Like, how are you going to do this? Like, you don't know nobody. You don't know, you know what I mean? My own father didn't like it at first, you know what I mean? And friends, I had a bunch of people who were just like, get out of here. Yeah. The people were just like, we didn't even know you liked acting. You know what I mean? It's just like, it was just a whole thing, you know what I mean? People, once you decide to make a pivot like that, after somebody and people have seen you so long in a certain way, they're going to respond in weird ways. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Especially when you're going to something like this, not as concrete as,
of course,
like, going into the arts or something. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a wild transition where there was a lot of questioning, not only by other people but by myself. But weirdly enough, there was always that fire in me, and that belief in me that I was just kind of like, you know what? You can do this. You know what I mean? You can do it. Believe in yourself. You've defied a decent amount of odds up to this point in your life. So let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go. So I had to really tune everybody out and just, kick myself in the ass and really get after it. So it was an interesting time, but it was what I needed.
I get that. When you had hurt yourself and they gave you those pain pills, right? Yeah. Did they share with you any tactics or skills to not get addicted to them and not get hooked?
No, man. They don't. No, hell no. All they tell you is only take this many at this amount of time. You know what I mean? They don't tell you, okay, like, make sure you're drinking enough water, or make sure that you are only like taking these, like, they don't give you enough. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's no, and honestly, I still to this day don't even know real tactics or strategies for somebody to wean themselves off of pain pills. Yeah. You know what I mean? So for me, I just happened to be lucky because I was like, fuck this, I'm done. Yeah. Was there a moment? Was it? There was a moment, actually. It was a moment, and it wasn't like anything. I had a couple moments in college, but there was one in particular where it was, I was actually back home, right? No. Actually, excuse me. That's another moment. Yeah. The real moment is when I was sitting in the back of a philosophy class, and I had my arm in a splint and all that shit. And I was like, and this is when I just had, I think, like the third surgery, and I was actually in a decent amount of pain. Yeah. And I remember being in that class. I was in that class with my college roommate. He was sitting in the back, whatever. And at this point, I think I had popped took like 6 bikes in maybe like 4 hours. Yeah. Maybe 3. maybe less. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was a wild amount of biking. Yes. And you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm good. And I remember, I vaguely remember, I was told, I remember a little bit. I was in the back of my philosophy class, and apparently, like, I was asleep and I was drooling on myself. Yeah, nodding out. I was done, yo. I was toast. There's no way, you know what I mean? Just a vegetable. And the teacher asked me a question because she saw me, You know what I mean? And she was kind of just like, yo, what's going on with him? You know what I mean? She asked me a question, and my college roommate said that apparently my response was something about Young Jeezy's new album.
Let's go.
Yo, he was like, I don't know what you were on, bro, but you started talking about Young Jeezy's new album, and she wanted to know something about some Logic. I was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? I think this track is hard or whatever. I don't even know what I said. But, you know, once that happened, it was kind of like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, cut the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this has gone too far. You know what I mean? It's like either you're going to keep going down this route or you're going to tighten up a little bit. And I was still taking them after them because I had to end up having more surgeries, you know? Shit, man. Yeah, man. I had 5 total before I was 23, which is actually not that much for some people who play football. But for me, they all happened like this. It was boom, 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 year. And I'm like, I'm barely on the field. So it was a lot, you know, it was a whirlwind of emotions and a lot, but, you know, it was, I still didn't need them sometimes really, but I was able to get it under control. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, really only take these when you need them. Yeah. You know, and take one. Yeah. You don't need to take 6. Exactly. Yeah. You don't need to take 6, let alone 6. You don't even need to take 2. Just take 1 and then go from there. So, that moment, and along with a couple other moments, but that moment was probably the one where I was like, yo, you're fucking embarrassing yourself, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're embarrassed. And, you know, the whole class is turning around looking at me. You know, I do remember that. I'm like, yo, everybody looking at me like, yo, what's going on? So, yeah, man, that was it.
Yeah. How long were they giving them to you for?
Oh, bro, as long as I needed. They didn't cut me off.
That's crazy.
No, they didn't cut me off. They were just like, yeah, here, how much do you need? And it was funny because it technically it wasn't the school. So I had to go through, I went through an outside, at the time I was going to Kaiser, you know what I mean? Yeah. So Kaiser was the one who was providing me, you know, as much as I needed pretty much. And, you know, they really didn't say anything. Like, they would cut down the amount. They were just like, okay, we'll give you less this time, you know, just like, all right. But, or, you know, and then I could easily, I remember one time I bucked and I was just like, nah, I need more than that.
And they do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's so crazy because we have such a huge issue in America, right? The number one killer of 18 to 49-year-olds is opiate-based overdoses, right? And obviously fentanyl plays a major role in that. But you know, we're giving these young kids here's the keys to the fucking Ferrari, you know, with no like, okay, this is what you're gonna do, this is how you're gonna do it, and for very short periods of time. It's for long periods of time. Oh yeah. And then you become dependent on it, and then you don't want the detox to kick in because then you start feeling like shit, and then you're like, okay, I want this to go away. And it's just such a problem in America that you know, you're very fortunate that you were able to get out on the other side.
Oh man, it's funny. I was watching that. Not funny, excuse me. It's ironic. I say that.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I watched that show. Dope Sick.
Fucking crazy, man.
Such an amazing show.
It's
just wild. Like, it is so. And I remember watching Dope Sick and literally every episode sitting there watching it and like thinking like, oh, you got real lucky.
No, you did, bro.
You got
real
lucky.
You got at the last episode, I was just bawling my eyes out.
Oh man,
I had a huge issue with fentanyl for a long time myself.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
And so, you know, I've had my own trials and tribulations with drugs throughout the years, and it's a very, very hard road. And I remember the days of the pill mills, going to this doctor and fucking buying them and selling copious amounts of them and taking copious amounts of them, and it was definitely a very crazy time in my own personal life. And so seeing all of that, it just shed a real light to the real issues, you know, going on and what the Sackler family did. It's just really fucked up.
Did you have a moment where what it was for you that you were like, I gotta cut this shit?
There was a lot of moments throughout my life, a lot, just not one, you know, for a very long time, right? And it was about 10 years ago where I started getting my life somewhat under control. Amazing. And the past 6 or 7 years, my whole life's changed. And then in the past 3 to 4 years, a lot more. But you know, I'm no saint, but I'm not doing that shit anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, none of us are, man.
But we're all human, and we have all of our own trials and tribulations. And
Sure.
you know, but it was just a real eye-opening experience for just watching that and seeing that. It was just very relatable.
Yeah,
you know.
No,
so.
man, I'm telling you, man, it was wild watching that, you know, and just really letting that wash over me.
Yeah.
And knowing where I had come from.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That honestly nobody really knew.
Yeah.
I mean, if my mom watches this, she'll know. If my dad watches this, they'll know. I don't think my parents still. I don't think they still know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A couple of my friends know who were around, but I'm like that sometimes. If I go through, which is I guess a good and a bad thing, but sometimes I will. If I go through something, sometimes I won't say anything about it, which is. You know, people will be like, "Oh, you need to talk to people and do that," and you know, I will when the time is right. But I am I'm very, and luckily I've graced with this, but I'm very in tune with myself.
Yeah,
and I can usually go through the ride and the journey and talk myself through things, and let myself wave through it and kind of be like, "Okay, this is where we're at."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Okay, I feel all right." You know what I mean? And obviously there's some moments where they're tougher than others.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But watching that wash over, I was like, whew.
Yeah. It's heavy. Do you feel it's a gift and a curse for you?
What, to be able to be in tune?
To be able to be very in tune with yourself,
Yes.
but still being maybe not as open?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because if I talk to somebody or people ask me about some things, you know, and then I'm very open, you know what I mean? As I have to be, especially as what I do, you know, as an artist, you have to be, you know, very vulnerable, very open. But yeah, I do think it is a gift and a curse at times because there will be, you know, moments where I want actually somebody to talk to, and maybe somebody is not available at the moment. Or at the time being, and I'll just be like, sorry, you got it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll sit there and think about it and chill. And then sometimes I'll realize and feel it physically kind of hindering in a different way. I'm like, oh, man, like why does my chest feel tight sometimes? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, my back feels a little tight, you know, things like that, or, you know, whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, that's why. Because you're not expressing or talking to anybody sometimes, or, you know, and then I'll be like, okay, let me go find somebody to, you know, my mom, friends or whatever, be like, hey, yo, this is kind of what's going on. You know what I mean? But the gift on the side of that is that like being able to think about things from both perspectives before I emotionally react. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, when it is getting to the point to where the emotions are boiling over, I'll let myself feel how I need to feel. And then I'll work through that. It's funny, when I was a kid, I went to go see a doctor and they took my heart rate and he was like, yeah, for a second, I didn't know if you were alive. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, you have the slowest heart rate I've ever seen of a human being.
Jeez.
And I'm sure it's changed now. You know what I mean? Of course, over years, but yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe I got lucky with that. Maybe this isn't my first go around on this planet. You know what I mean? But it's just, yeah, man, I don't really let the highs get too highs, and I don't really let the lows get too low sometimes. So I think that's kind of the gift of it.
Yeah. My wife is like that as well, where I'm like fucking just balls to the walls. Like if things are good, I am fucking, if there's 10, I'm 100. And if things are fucking low, if it's 1, I'm 100, negative 100, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like my wife is like an even 5 the entire time.
You're like, aren't you happy?
I know. Get the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know,
aren't you sad? Aren't you mad? I'm mad. Yo, that's
but
funny.
she always has to put me in check. She goes, you know, because there are times where like I'll be like very excited about something, and I'll expect everyone else around me to be as excited, right? And then I let that maybe like hurt my feelings that not everyone else is excited, and she has to put me in check sometimes, like, babe, not everyone is like you, right? You know, it doesn't mean that we're not happy, we're not excited,
right?
It's just, you know, not and just kind of like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is tough, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I think that has to do with, you know, a little bit level of, whether it's conscious or unconscious, like a little level of expectancy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I can get like that too. I think we all can, especially I'm not quick to judge really anybody, no matter what they do. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and, you know, and give people all of my energy when I come into contact with them, because I would want the same, you know?
Yeah.
And when it doesn't happen, sometimes I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
so you just taken from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just taken from me. And then it's like you said, you got to scale back. And like your wife says, not everybody is like you.
Of course.
So just meet people where they are, but don't lower your frequency if somebody is lower. You know what I mean?
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. That's a very valid point, right? And that's beautiful, because you don't want everyone to be just like you, right?
No, man.
That's
no fun.
That's the beautiful thing about human beings, is that we're a spectrum, right? And you got people of all different flavors and all different shapes and all different everything, right? And that's what just makes us very unique.
Right.
But all right, so getting back to your story, right? So
Yeah.
I want to, like, you made that pivot, right? You're like, let me ask this actually.
Yeah.
When you decided to put sports behind you,
Okay.
how hard was that, right? Because you have to figure, like,
Yeah.
it was everything for
Yeah. Yeah.
you. That was your whole life.
Yeah.
And then to finally hang it up,
Yeah.
that's got to be a hard pill to swallow.
It was the hardest pill to swallow. No pun intended. It was tough, man. It was tough because, like you said, when you cultivate this idea in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, and you really work for something countless of hours to not, and then also to see people that you grew up in close circles with. My bro played in the league.
Sure.
My other guy that I graduated from high school with played in the league. You know, and maybe my ideas and expectations, I guess, of it may not have been realistic, but bruh, I gave it everything I had. Yeah. You know what I mean? I gave it everything I had. At least I felt like I did. So it was tough, because I went from when I left junior college as I went from high school where I was all league both ways, all East Bay, cream of the crop. I went to junior college where I was all league, all whatever, everything. I would have won defensive player of the conference, but we lost the conference. So they gave it to the guy on the team who won the conference. To when it was senior night at USD, to not even getting on the field.
Fuck.
And every senior plays in their last game, even if it's just one play. And not only that, I was the only senior who did not play at all. Not one snap.
Yeah.
So you know what that night was like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wasted no time. So to go from that high to rock bottom, and I wasn't going to quit. There was no way in hell. I don't quit anything. To go to that rock bottom was, aside probably from my grandmother passing and my brother's death, was one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
As far as making that, like, where do we go now? You know what I mean? Because even if I did have that experience in acting class, I was still like, yo, your dream is done. You know what I mean? It's over with. It's not going to happen. And, you know, there were opportunities potentially, maybe possibly, for me to keep playing, but I knew it wasn't realistic. Even when I was going into these opportunities, I'm like, it's over with. I was already half-hearted in them. You know what I mean? So it was a tough pill to swallow. But, you know, giving the gift of what I was given in that class, I was able to get back on the horse of life, I guess, and just being like, okay, cool, there is something else out there for you. But, man, bro, yeah, you know, going from all in to, you know, almost being like looked at as like, you know, people turning their nose down at me. It was tough, man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I know people were talking behind my back for a fact. And I really did this, you know, I didn't care because that was nothing that I could control. But I can even tell the way like some of my teammates were looking at me, because when I came back after one of my first surgeries, my first time back on the field, I was dominating shit, killing everywhere. Started right away within a week of practice, elevated to a starter. Went from 4th string to number 1 after like 2 or 3 days of practice. You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, we're here. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And even my teammates like, we've been waiting, you know, blah, 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 blah. And to see them, some of them, not all, some of them even look at me, and I can't blame them, even looking at me like different. I was just like, damn, bro.
That's their issue.
Yeah.
That's their
No,
shit.
yeah. And I came around to that, but in that moment,
It's
right?
hard.
You know, I'm 19, 20, 21
Young
years
man.
old. I don't know. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm just like, in that moment, I was just like, bro, like, you know, really, it's just like, you're done, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it was tough. That was. It was very, 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 very tough for sure.
You know, being a young man going through those experiences, it is very hard to realize that it's not the end of the world. But in the moment,
Oh man,
it
feels
feels fucking terrible.
Oh yeah.
Right? But you have so much life to live, and you have so many other amazing opportunities and things that any young man will be able to do. But at that moment of living only, 19, 20 years on this planet, it's a hard pill to swallow.
Oh man, especially when almost half of, or if not more than half of that time in your life up until that point was dedicated to that.
Absolutely.
You know,
of course. When or if you ever have kids, will you encourage them to play football? With all the issues that you went through, all the, injuries and everything.
Yes. And here's why. Well, I won't encourage. I want to hopefully, God willing, that I will be a father someday. And God willing that I will be able to be an open enough father to encourage my kids in whatever pursuit that they take interest in.
Yes.
Right. I will encourage my kids to try different things.
Yeah.
And then whatever they find a liking to. Right. And the reason why I wouldn't want my kids to play tackle football young, just from the head things. I mean, I've
CTE,
had, oh my God, bro.
yeah.
I had the worst, even all the surgeries I had, the worst was I had one major concussion at the end. And I was just like, yo, that I can still feel to this day.
I get it.
You know what I mean? I don't want them to play tackle that young.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't because I was overweight.
Yeah.
I was a fat kid. And I played baseball, but football, they're like, nah, you can't make weight again. It was funny. My dad, we were trying to go to tryouts one time, and I was like, yo, Dad, can we go to these tryouts? He was like, I don't know why we go. You know you're not going to make weight. And at the time, it crushed me, but now I think about it laughing, like, he was right.
He was right.
But it's just like way overweight, just hoping. I'm like, nah, I might be able to lose, 30 pounds in an hour.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's try it.
Yeah.
But no, I want my kids to I want to encourage them to do multiple things. But, if they do want to play football, the lessons that I took from football have not only helped me in life, but have directly helped me in acting.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade them for the world.
How so?
For one, right? Football is the biggest team sport out there. So, number one, the best player, whatever, maybe it's the quarterback, is just important as 53, right? Or the trainer or the whatever, right? So, number one on the call sheet, Denzel Washington, is just important as, in my opinion, as the second AD, right?
Yeah.
The second AD or whoever may be running to get Denzel's coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he maybe not he needs his coffee before he can hop into this scene.
Yeah.
Right. So, that ain't got nothing to do with director, the director, the writer, the producer. Nah, that's between these two. Right. So we're all interconnected. So you have to be collaborative.
Yeah.
Right. In order for us to win, we all need to be on the same page. We all need to collaborate. We all need to listen. We all need to help. We all need to do our jobs and play our parts and play our roles to the best of our abilities. Right. And most importantly, we all have to be able to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
And that correlates directly with the arts and acting for me. And I also think the level of being able to stay disciplined, one, persevere, and prepare, right? So I have to, go for an audition, whatever. I get the sides, whatever, right? I get the size the audition maybe due in 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 pages, whatever. I need to learn my lines. I need to go through this. I need to think about the scene, think about the character, look at the show, do my research as far as who the writers are, blah, 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 figure out the tone, do all that, right? So, excuse me, that is equivalent to I'm getting a game plan for the week. We're playing this team. It's a 4 or 5 page thick game plan. Here are their star players. Here's what they like to run. Here's who's out and who's injured. Here's who the coach and who he's coached for in the past. So I'm doing my research. Boom, boom, boom. There's the equivalent right there.
Yeah.
Then I do maybe a little rehearsal on my own. I'm practicing during the week. Equivalent. Boom, right there. Now it's game day. Now it's audition time. Going in or self-tape now. I have to be able to let go of everything that I just prepared for. Same over here. And I have to be locked in and present in this moment, because what I prepared for here might be different from what I'm getting from the person who's reading with me or acting with me, or what I prepared for here game-wise may be completely different than what they're coming out with as a game plan. Yeah. We ain't never seen this play before. Oh, shit, I've never seen nobody do this line this way. Okay, I got to respond truthfully, right?
I get that.
So to me, for me, it directly correlates, not just with acting, but just life. These are all life lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It teaches you so many life lessons. I'm so grateful for all of the ups and downs that I went through playing sports, because I would not be able to be who I am to this day without them.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't, man. And I would encourage my kids to play sports, or help my kids, you know, whatever they wanted to play sports in general. Doesn't necessarily need to be football. You know what I mean? Just it is such a violent game. But if my kid fell in love with something like I did, who am I to tell him no? You know what I mean? Or her no.
Yeah.
I can't, you know what I mean? You know, and whatever it is they want to pursue. If you love something enough to where you're going to give it your all, that's your life. I'm not going to be getting away of that. I got to be the best I can be to help you succeed at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you every bit of knowledge, whatever I can, you know, and then I'm going to get out the way and let you find your way. And then you'll come back to Pops when you need it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
You know, or if you even need Pops, you know what I mean?
Now, what happens if it's bare knuckle boxing?
I'm going to be like, come on, man. Like, knock that out. And I was like,
let's go.
Let's go. Knock that out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm going to be supportive. Duck, Bob, come on, get out the way. Get out the way.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
All right. So, before I asked you that question, I did have another one. So, when you finally made that choice to move to Los Angeles, like I said earlier, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people are trying to do this all the fucking time.
Yeah, man.
What is that grind like for an up and coming actor? It's got to be so hard for the psyche, right? Because you get a lot of no's before, most do get a lot of no's before they start getting yeses. Just very competitive and cutthroat, and just all the different types of interactions that you meet people from all over the fucking map that, you know, have this kind of like kind of cutthroat mentality. Unlike where, like you just said, like kind of picking everyone up. Right. Especially starting in the beginning. It's like if you have 30 people auditioning for a role, you know, at least 25, if not all of
30,
them,
30
30
if you're
of, this,
lucky.
Of those people will do anything to get that fucking role.
Right.
Step all over you, do whatever the fuck it is to get that role. Yeah. Right. What was it like for you coming up in this world?
Well, it was interesting, right? Obviously, you know, it does come with a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of perseverance and a lot of stressful nights. But for me, I found every little bit of it in a weird way, weirdly fascinating because it was just so new to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, oh no, this is what I have to go through. Right. So maybe just naive. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is, you know, I got to go through this. I got to go, you know, I'm thinking of that. And I was honestly so interested in immersing myself in the craft because I knew I didn't have any, that I was like, I got to get in class. I got to learn. I got to do this. I got to study this. I got to do this. I got to do that. Right. And then obviously, you know, of course, when you go through that and you start auditioning, then you realize you're like, okay, there are a whole lot of people trying to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that the most important part of I found over that journey was trying to find out what it was that made me unique and what it was for me as a craftsman that was not only going to make me stand out, but help me get to the truth of whatever it is in any situation that I'm in as an actor. But yeah, man, when you first, it's funny because, I was lucky enough to land a couple of gigs when I first started out. Right. And then I went 5 years with no work.
Shit.
5 years with no work. And I was just acting in friends' indie films, web series, just in class, reading books, helping people with their tapes, watching people book things, and still being able to try to be the best I can to be supportive because that's who I am to my core, But those 5 years were tougher, in my opinion. More tough, excuse me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Then as opposed to when I first came out here, right? Because when I first came out here, I was so focused on trying to find my footing that, getting a couple no's, I was like, all right, cool, like whatever, maybe I'm just not there yet. And I didn't feel like I was there yet, So I was just like, yeah, it is what it is. But when you go through years of training, right, and putting in the time and effort and commitment to it, and knowing you're ready, feeling in your gut that you're ready, being told by people who have been in the industry for a long time, you're ready, but not being able to land a job for 5 years, that's when it was starting to wear on me.
Yeah.
And then also getting close, super close, obviously. Like a lot of us have those journeys where like, oh, we were right there. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. But those 5 years were tough, man. They were tough. They were tough because at the same time, it's like, I got to go wait more tables at PF Chang's. I got to go do this. I can't, we can't. We don't got enough money for rent. I'm going to pay rent. Fuck, the water's been off now for, months. I'm washing my face with Crystal Geyser bottles. I'm going down to Target to take a shit because the toilet won't play. You know what I mean? I'm trying to really, showering at the gym, doing all that. And so those 5 years, were really like, they were trying, you know what I mean? Really like, here you go. Like, here's a test, for you. And I'm like, I can only imagine that a bunch of people in this business are going through this. And I can bet you that this is when a lot of people quit.
Yes.
Right now. And I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. You know what I mean? But that's what I think was what it felt like for me. You know what I mean? In that moment of those 5 years of being and knowing and feeling like at your core you're ready, and still not getting the opportunities to be able to try to put on, to be able to try to get a crack at it, So that was it for me, I think. Yeah.
What was it that held you back from quitting? Because, dude,
Oh man.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years.
5 years no
of
work.
Tons of auditions.
Yeah.
Right. And at that time it wasn't self-tape, so you had to drive
Both.
it was both. Okay.
Yeah, both.
But
But more driving.
More driving.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing mentally, physically that you're ready for this, having everyone tell you that you're ready for this, but then having the man or woman behind the fucking iron curtain, if you will, right, saying, nope, you're not good enough.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
What is that like? And not giving up? Because that's fucking crazy, dude.
It is crazy. What kept me going was my family, right? And my reason why that I wanted to do this and why I'm doing this. And there was, it's tough to explain, but there was still a fire in my gut burning within that time that was honestly getting bigger. And it was because every time they were just pouring more and more gasoline on it. And I'm just like, okay. You know what I mean? And that was the part of me. That's part of the the athlete thing where I'm like, I kind of had to control a little bit because sometimes I can get too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's like you're getting in your own way that way because it's different, you know, with the art. But
Of course.
But that fuel was what I needed, you know? And then having the support of someone like my mom, you know, believing in me and, you know, weirdly, and not even weirdly, but like sending my self-tapes to her sometimes, right? And her just responding like, shit. Her responding to me almost every single time. You're my favorite actor, son. You know, and she's still, to this day, I'm her favorite actor, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only person that I felt like I needed to make proud, you know, and who was still there, right, through those 5 years. And still cheering me on, no matter how many times or who or what or who I didn't know said no, you know? So that's really what kept me going, and knowing that, like, in somebody's eyes, I'm their favorite actor.
Yeah.
And not just somebody, and the most important person, you know, who gave me life.
Yeah.
I'm her favorite actor. So that's what helped me a lot, you know, and I'm so grateful for that because I know not everybody has that. Yeah. There's not a day that goes by where I don't drop to my knees and thank God for the fact that I have support from my mom, support from my pops, that they want to see me succeed, you know what I mean? And that, you know, they've been there, you know what I mean? So even my pops, you know what I mean? He's had to come around on it. You know what I mean? We've had our times we've butted heads. You know, we butted heads, you know, at points our whole life. You know what I mean? Our whole relationship. And it's tough because, you know, you grew up in a broken home. It's like, you know, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, and he didn't have a father. So he's just, you know, he's doing the best he can, right? And him coming around, I got a text. That's funny. I got a text from him the other day about at the Christmas movie. That's how he watched it. I got a text from him the other day, a long text. And it was one of the most like rewarding texts that I had received from him in years. And I was like, yo, I've been waiting for this, you know? But yeah, man, my family.
It's everything.
Everything.
Your mom is truly everything to you.
Yeah.
When you think of her, what does she mean to you?
Man. To me, she's the light. To me. Within me, and honestly, man, like the light in every room she walks in, right?
Yeah.
And I see that from her, and it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. And of course, I've seen her with her ups and downs, and like, you know, there's times where I had to be there for her and be the light, and I'm like, the only reason why I'm able to be the light for you is because you were the light for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think of with her. She's always got the biggest smile on her face, man. It's just like a huge smile. And everybody who's met her is crazy. Everybody's like, hey, mom's the sweetest. She's so nice. She's so nice. You know what I mean? Like, she's so nice. And when's she going to bake some cookies and some lemon bars and all that? You know, she bakes food and all that, you know? So, but yeah, man, mom's is a light for sure for me.
And I love that you know how fortunate you are to have that.
Man.
Even growing up in a broken home and all the issues that you've gone through, to have a rock like that,
Man.
a light,
Yeah,
right,
man.
is so fortunate.
So fortunate, man. I'm telling you, there's not a day go by where I'm like, yo, thank you. You know, because it's this thing is hard, bro.
Yeah.
Being an artist, especially being an actor, is very hard. It's very, very, very hard. And can be very taxing mentally, physically, emotionally, and some people don't have that. And I really respect the people who still keep going, who really don't have that, and still can create magic.
Yes.
And I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I like a lot of my friends know, I'm like, if you ain't got that rock in your life and somebody not supporting you, you can call me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
I love that.
1,000% every day.
I fucking love that, dude. Yeah. They don't, when people sign up for this industry, especially trying to be an actor or actress, they don't tell you how hard it is.
No.
Right? 5 years.
Yeah.
Most people would have given up after 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had your light, you had your rock, right? And to the people that don't, but even the people that do, that have 2 parents that super support them and all of that shit, still give up.
Still give up.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like sometimes they still give up, and sometimes people have their parents and have rocks, and they may not really be there like they are. Like they, you know what I mean?
That's true.
So it's like, just because, somebody grew up in a perfectly married home or whatever, that doesn't mean
That's
it's
not
all
shit.
good. Nah, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean shit.
Don't
you
mean
know what I
shit.
mean? The
Don't mean shit.
relationship and who these people are is what it means. And that's the real side of it.
Absolutely. So you go through these 5 years, bro. What was it where you started to see the tide turn, right?
I first saw the tide turn in my self-tapes.
Okay.
I started noticing that I was getting better. And for me, that was important, right? Because being an athlete, the tough part about going from an athlete to an actor is like, if I want to get faster, I can go run some hill sprints. I can, do a bunch of technical things. I can work on my form. I can do this and do that. And I can see the results pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I am getting faster. There are things you can do, right? As an actor, you can work on your craft, and you may not feel like you're getting better. You may not see the tangible results right away. You're just like, damn, like I'm not seeing the results. I'm not booking work, so I must not be getting better, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of threw me a little bit. But the first time I remember watching one of my tapes back that I had done, after a few years that I had done, and I was like, that was one of the first times I watched my tapes back and I didn't recognize myself. And I was like, we got it.
Wow.
We got it.
Wow.
We just have, and not it, but we have finally found, a little bit of that light, right?
Tip of the iceberg.
There we go. We're tapping into something
Yeah.
different. We're tapping into something new. We're tapping into your uniqueness as an artist. Because I watched it and I sent it to a lot of people and everybody's like, yo, whoa. You know what I mean? And I always felt like I had some natural talent, but you need to cultivate natural talent.
Yes.
But that was like, for me, that was it. It wasn't a job. It wasn't anything like that. It was watching one of my tapes back and I was kind of like, oh, and then one of my coaches used to always say, can you do it again? And I remember the next tape. I was like, we did it again.
Wow.
The next tape, oh, we did it again, but we did it better. Then we did it better. And I was like, okay, we're on to something. You know what I mean? I was like, we're on to something. I'm like, okay, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming around. It's coming around. So just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So when I started seeing the progress in my own craft, before I had even landed a job, really, it was within that 5 years, I was like, you're getting better, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was trying to be kind to myself. Like, you are actually really getting pretty good. You know what I mean? So I know I keep saying, you know what I mean, a lot. I might need
it's all good.
some media training. No,
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, that's for me what it was. Seeing the progression in my own work in self-tape before I'd even got a job. So seeing that was kind of what helped a lot.
I've asked this question to other actors and actresses, but just so you can explain, especially if people are just tuning in for the first time, explain what a self-tape is.
So basically, instead of you going in person to audition for a project, in the casting office, per se, they would call, they'll give you an audition, say, hey, you are reading for the role of John in this new Hulu project, and it is 3 pages. The audition is tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We'll see you there at blah, 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 blah address. It will instead be, hey, you're auditioning for the role of John for this new Hulu show, and the self-tape is due tomorrow at 12 p.m. What that means is you have to go to a place, or if you have a setup, usually pretty much all actors have a setup now, and they have, lights, a camera. You set the camera up, have somebody focusing on yourself, and you have somebody reading off camera with you, and you do the audition as if you were in the room, edit it up, send it off. That's your self-tape.
Wow. Do you feel like that's easier than having to go in person, or do you like the other way around?
I like both. I like both. I think that the convenience of self-tapes is easier. Like, I don't have to get in my car and drive miles across, the city and waste gas and completely change my day around and miss work and do things like that. That I don't miss at all. Yeah. The actual feeling of being in the room, I do miss a little bit, because there's really nothing like that. You know what I mean? You don't really know what's going to happen. So you really got to be like, you know what I mean? The thing that I do love about self-tapes is, one, the convenience, and two, it's really up to your own discretion as far as, like, you really can create anything. You know what I mean? You can sometimes get too creative with it, but there's a comfort with self-tapes, right? But I think within that comfort, to do your best work, you do have to seek a little bit of uncomfort and that little bit of spontaneity while you're doing the self-tapes. Because the problem is, some people do self-tapes, and I run a self-taping business now, so I've seen this happen a lot. People will want to do it 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 times. And I'm like, the spontaneity and the best work, in my opinion, usually lies within the first 4 takes.
Makes sense.
If that
makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean? And you're not trying to perfect it and do this one moment and throw it, and like blah, 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 blah. So that's where self-tapes can get a little tricky, because you can start overthinking it. But you do have a level of freedom, more so, I would say. Sometimes it's tough to always turn over and give all your freedom in the room. And when you get to that place, then you're really good. Yeah. But there is a level of like ease with self tapes that I think, especially for a lot of people who, including myself, there's, no matter what, you're always gonna get a little nervous. Yeah. Before anything. But to me, the nerves just show you care.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
The nerves just show you care about it. But yeah, that's kind of, to me, the difference between the two. I really don't necessarily have a preference, but I do like the world that we're in now, the self-tape world. Yeah.
You made a good point that the nerves shows that you care, right? Because you even asked some of these like rock stars and people that, the Drakes and the Paul McCartneys and the greats, right? That have been touring forever, right?
Yeah.
You ask them, how do they feel before they go on stage? Get butterflies, right?
Oh, yeah.
The excitement is still there. Once that's fucking gone and out the window, you're just doing it for a paycheck. Do something fucking else.
Do something else.
Right? So that is a very valid point, right?
Yeah.
Like, even before I do a podcast, every single time I get those feelings.
Just
like excited, right?
Yeah.
But,
the lights are on.
Yeah,
like,
okay, absolutely.
Cameras are rolling.
100%. It's very, very normal. So you go through those 5 years. You're starting to see a shift and change in the way that you're doing things. What was it what was like the first thing that you landed?
Oh, yeah. So for me, it wasn't anything crazy. So it was, I think Jess, I'm not sure. I think Jess Bishop, but she, her now husband, Zach, kept,
of course.
Yeah.
We're having him come on the podcast.
Oh, perfect.
Willowbrook.
Oh, right? So there we go.
So
that's what it was. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
God, my man.
It's all good.
Football, man.
Facts.
Football, man. Those concussions. So there was that movie, The Willowbrook. Zach, he saw like my materials, and I didn't really know him yet like that. This was kind of when they had first started dating and things like that. And we were, I think this was March of 2021. So we were still a little bit in, like, we're still very much in COVID, and then the lockdown and things like that. And there wasn't much work, which is interesting because right before COVID hit, that's when I was actually getting a lot of momentum. It was like callback after callback after final choice, like to the point where I wasn't even auditioning, in the pre. It was like, oh, you're just going straight to the directors and all that. I was like, oh, we're almost there. Boom, shut it down. I was like, all right, exactly, whatever. Yeah. But so he saw like my material, things like that, and he was like, yo, I got this script, shooting in Iowa, and I was like, Iowa. I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, whatever. So we talked about it, and I was like, yeah, I read the script, and I was kind of like, you know what? let's do it, man. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not doing nothing else right now. I'm sitting at home, and I actually did like the script, you know, and I liked him, you know, more than anything, you know, as a person. I was like, oh, this seems like a good dude. And of course, like, you know, I love Jess. I've known her for years, you know, and she was also very like, she was doing it. So I'm kind of like, and I think Jess is super, super talented.
Yeah.
And I've worked with her, you know, I've known her for years, worked with her for a lot. So I'm very excited always to work with her. And they were, you know, grateful enough to bring me on to the project as one of the leads, which I was kind of like, okay, cool. This is, you know, not my first time leading a film, but one of the first times, you know what I mean? Being like, okay, I'm doing a little bit, you know, not a little bit, I'm carrying a heavy amount of the load here, you know? And then on top of that, I was like, okay, cool. I get to go fly out to Iowa. I mean, it's Iowa. I never really seen snow
Cold as
before.
fuck.
It's cold as hell.
Wait, did you say you've never seen snow before?
Nah, not like that. I've never been in snow. You know, I'm from here. Like, I'm from Cali. You know what I mean? I've never been to Big Bear, Tahoe. I've never done any of that.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's like, I've seen it like in the mountains off in the distance.
Yeah.
But I'm like to the point to where I'm stepping on a lake and I'm like, oh, yo, this lake is frozen. Like, I'm walking on the lake. Nah, bro. Like, it's negative 19 out here, you know? So never been in anything like that. So that was a challenge for me, but that was like the first thing, right? And Zach was gracious enough to give me a lot of freedom, to give all of us a lot of freedom as artists, and he was very collaborative and open minded and very best idea wins type of director, which I was like, you know, this is a great person to work with. It gave me a lot of freedom and growth in my own craft doing that, you know. So it was like, okay, you know, we haven't worked in 5 years, but to be able to go out and do this and to be shooting in a place that is outside of LA, doing a film with people that I like and care about, this will be cool, you know. So I went and did that, and I think I learned a lot of valuable lessons on that, and really was able just to grow, like I said, as an artist a lot, you know, through that. And I think to me, that was kind of the springboard, right? That was kind of the springboard where when I came back to LA and I felt very like creatively fulfilled, and I was like, okay, I think we're in a good place. You know, we're in a good place. We're in a better place. But I think more importantly than anything, and I think this is conducive with any type of profession you go into or just life in general, the things that I had going on in my life and the energy that I had around me weren't right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was able to make some adjustments in my life that were able to align me and be able to get out of my own way to be able to receive these blessings that I had been working my ass off so hard for, that I hadn't gotten 5 years because I was blocked by whatever situation.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
so it was, to me, I felt like it was a shift in craft and art, you know, obviously in getting things, but I think to me, the change really happened in my life and what I was harboring around me energy wise and making changes where I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And I felt better. Like I felt lighter. Yeah. You know what I mean? I felt light because there was a moment for years. I'm like, bro, I feel heavy.
Yes.
I don't give a damn how many times I work out. This is, you know, I haven't been under 200 pounds since I was 13 and I still feel like I'm like 260. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, for real. Like I was a heavy dude.
You were
bro.
a big boy.
Big boy, bro. I should show you some pictures. But you know what I'm saying? But like, I was still, you know, even with that, I was still feeling heavy, you know what I mean? But I started to feel a little bit lighter when I made some adjustments, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this will correlate. Like maybe I'm finally listening. I'm finally growing up. You know what I mean? So to me, that's really what it was.
I love that, man.
Yeah, man.
So you go through that experience, right? How long was it until you filmed your now infamous top 10 Netflix fucking film, brother? Man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
For the people listening, what's it called?
Christmas with You. Netflix with Amy Garcia, Freddie Prinze Jr. It is
Freddie Prinze, baby.
Yeah, I think it's 20. I think it's #1 in 26 countries and top 10 in 80 countries.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yo, wild.
Let's
right?
go.
That's wild. I'm like, okay, we up.
Yes, we are. Big change.
Big change, man. But it's funny because so before well, Well, actually, no, that was before that. I did. Well, Mike came out before Christmas with
Oh
You. But
yeah. You did Mike, the Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but I filmed Mike after Christmas with You, so I'll tell you
All right,
kind of how that happened.
Yeah.
So, Christmas with You came. I think the audition came some point in early September of last year, and you know, Greg came through Greg, and Greg was like, "Oh yeah, you know, here's this Christmas movie. You know, you want to, you know," and he was like, "Only problem is it's a New York local hire." And I was like, "All right, like, what is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's like a Netflix, Amy Garcia and Freddie Prinze Jr." And I'm like, "Freddie Prinze Jr. coming back?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "All right," like. He's like, I think you should, you know, just at least audition for it. And the role of the character was like, I looked at the description and the sides, and it was like the guy's name was Barry, 40s. That's really all they said. And I'm like, I was like, they're about to hire some white dude to do this, some old white dude, you know what I mean? But he was the head of a record label, so I was just like, okay, let me just give my like interpretation on this, you know what I mean? And I just did the tape, sent it in. I think like a week later, Greg called me. He's like, "Yeah, so you booked the Christmas movie." And I was like, "What?"
Damn.
And I was like they don't want to do a callback, nothing like that. And he was like, "Nah, right off the tape, he booked it." I was like, "Okay, all right, let's go."
Like, that was easier than
I was like, that was way easier than I thought. I thought it was gonna be super hard. And it's funny because I was a little like hesitant to do. Like the facts, I'm like, yo, I had to fly myself out to New York because the New York local. So I had to lie, basically. I lied. I was like, yeah, I'm in New. Actually, really didn't. I didn't say anything because you know when you slate, they're supposed to say your name, height, and location. Yeah. And I was like, yo, my name is Lawrence J. Hughes and I'm 5'9". Like I didn't say where I was at all. I was like, let me just not say anything. I forgot to, you know, put it in there.
Yeah.
And
that's all right.
Yeah, it's whatever. And so Greg was like, yo, you know, you gotta get to New York, right? And I was a little hesitant on this because just a few months before that, I had booked a job as a Boston local hire that shot for an indie film, but it had Brian Cox in it, right? And I was like, okay, go, dope, let's do this. So, but I had just basically I got that job, offered that job on a Friday, right? And they were like, oh, he's their choice Thursday night. We'll know by tonight. And I had to be in Boston by Saturday because we were shooting Saturday at 7 a.m.
Shit.
And got the job, but they told me that I got the job. They told me that I got the job Friday. They didn't tell me. They told me Friday morning, the day before, and I was like, oh, so I had to scramble. Found like the one flight that got me into Boston like that night. Yeah, I was on a plane to Boston in less than like an hour and a half.
Damn, bro,
it was wild, right? Went out there for the weekend, shot 13 pages of material, 4 scenes in one day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Went out there. I was staying in some rundown motel off like the Boston freeway. It's like where I'm sure they take some prostitutes because I was hearing next door. I'm just hearing people having sex through these thin walls. I'm just like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, I'm barely sleeping. I get in there at 2:30 more. I'm trying to learn these lines and do all that. I look a mess doing all that. Made all that sacrifice. Did all that.
Wow.
Went back to L.A. Did all that for that film to find out I got cut out that film.
Wait, what?
I got cut out that film because Netflix, apparently it was supposed to be a Netflix thing. I think it was. Actually, I'm not sure. Let me not say that.
Yeah.
Wherever it was supposed to go, because I haven't really heard what it was, but the producer called me and I had worked with the producer before, ironically. And he was like, yeah, they just didn't like the way that the story was, the new idea of the story. He's like, I promise it's nothing to do with you, nothing to do with your performance. They just didn't like the way we wrote the story, so we got to write it a completely different way.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, bro, do you know what I did to get out here? You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, bro, I did so much. Right? Yeah. And so I didn't get the news that I was cut out before Christmas with You came, but I just did all that, right? Like I'm like, yo, I just forked over a lot of money. I did all that. And so I didn't really have much money when I got Christmas with You. So I'm like, how am I supposed to make this work? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they were like, my outside dates were I had to basically be in New York for 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Without, you know what I mean? I'm like, New York is expensive. So how am I going to figure this out? Luckily, grateful for my college roommate. Shout out Gary Esposito. He let me sleep on his couch. And like I've said before, you know, I tell those people all the time, like if you're staying at anybody's place for longer than a week, you staying a long time. You know what I mean? 100%. You're staying a long time. And he was so gracious, bro, just to let me stay. Not only let me stay for 3 weeks, he was like, here, take the key, go in and out as you want. But at the same time, because I went to college with him, we were roommates, we were super tight. But he was very like welcome, almost like he made me feel like he wanted me to be there. Even when I was leaving, he was almost like, yo, I don't want you to leave. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, it took a big weight off of my shoulders.
I'm sure
that way, just for that. You know what I mean? And then of course I got real acclimated with the New York subway, getting myself to and from set and doing all that on my own, and then being able to like work with Amy Garcia and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Deja Monique Cruz and Zinzi Williams and Nicolette Templar, and then the director Gabby Tagliavini and our producer Herman Michael Torres. It was just, man, bro, it's like a family now, to be honest. And Gabriel Sloyer, let me not forget my dog. Shout out. But it was a super rewarding experience, and we still all keep in touch, now, because of course the movie's doing very, very well. It came out, and I almost turned it down. I almost turned it down because I didn't have the money and all that. But I was just like, I talked to my mom, and my mom was like, oh, well, you got to do what you got to do, son.
Of course,
blah blah blah. So we figured it out. We got out there, and I would be kicking myself right now if I said no to that job. You know what I mean? I'd have been like, what were you thinking?
100%.
And it's paid off. Got to be able to go to the premiere and bring family and friends and see the movie, and people be very like, it's interesting to see. People have been showing a lot of love, which I'm so grateful for, and like people texting me or calling me or sending me videos of them like saying my lines.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of like, damn, this is crazy. And I'm getting tagged in people's stories that live in France and like Budapest and like a whole bunch of different places, people that I don't know. And I'm kind of like, man, this is what you're doing it for. This is what you stuck through it for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is even the sacrifice I had to make to sleep on that couch. And at the time I thought I had like a hernia, so I wasn't like working out and all. So I was like doing my scenes, and like in between scenes I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what's going on? So it was a wild but rewarding experience, man. I think the film is good, man. I think it's really good. I like it a lot. It's a very warm, heartfelt movie that I think people will love to watch with their family and friends, especially right now, Christmas time. We need a lot of. I heard Deja Monique Cruz say this, who's in the film. She plays Christina. She said we need hugs.
Yeah,
we need hugs, and I really resonated with that when she said that. I was like, you know what, you're right. We need hugs, and that's what this film is. It's a very loving film, and I'm happy that I can be a little bit of I wouldn't say a bad guy, but a little bit of a guy who's like, people are like, I got a little bit of an asshole, what I'm saying? Which is cool because it's completely opposite, but it was such a fun role to play, you know what I mean, to bring to life. But I'm very happy with how it turned out, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work with so many talented, amazing people on that project. And I'm so happy that people are liking it, and it's doing as well as it's doing right now.
It's definitely doing well, my friend.
Man, I just found out today that it's like one of the most searched things on Netflix right now. Like, I'm on my way over here. I was like,
that's
what the
great,
hell?
man. Yeah. Great, congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, so you go through that, right? Then how did you land the Mike Tyson?
So Mike came.
That's cool.
Yeah, bro. So it's funny because they try to say sometimes they're like, I was actually talking to Andrea Londo about this yesterday. She was like, we were both saying like, we rarely get the things that you really, really want. And I was like, but this one, we were all saying, but I got this one and I really, really wanted this one, right? I actually originally auditioned to play Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Which I knew at the time that I wasn't going to get, right?
Yeah.
Name's not there, whatever. But I went all out for my tape. Like, I shaved my head bald, went and got the face tattoo. I did everything. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, let's go for it. I locked myself in my room for like a week, kind of just watching his one-man stand-up on a loop. And I had already been a big fan. I love his podcast. Yeah. I grew up, my pops was a big Tyson fan, so we watched the fights a lot growing up. So, I mean, I've been following Mike Tyson for years, right? So just to be able to audition to play Mike Tyson, I was kind of like, that's whoa, cool. This is like the best audition I've ever got in my life. You know what I mean? So I'm going all out. So do the whole thing, go all out. Didn't get it. Then I saw a few months later, Trevante Rhodes was playing Mike. And I'm like, oh, that's a good choice. Trevante is super talented. Moonlight, you know what I mean? He's a big dude, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's just going to be cool. And then I started shifting my focus into like, man, I hope I can still be a part of it somehow, some way. Then the audition came along. I think it was 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving of last year, to play Steve Crocodile Finch, Mike Tyson's hype man. And I don't know, bro, like something about it
Hype
was,
man.
yeah. So something about it was like, this is one of them. This is the one I'm gonna get this one, because I've been a hype man my whole life. Like I was the hype man for football.
Yeah.
I was the hype man for my boy when he was DJing. I hype up my friends. I hype up my family. I hype up myself. I'm like, I'm going to get this, right? And I want this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get it. So I do the audition and I knock it out the park. I watch it. I'm like, you did your thing. You know what I mean? You did your thing on this. And I think it was the day before Thanksgiving is when my agent called me and she was like, you're on the Veil. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, all right. And of course, I'm like, damn, right before Thanksgiving. So now I got to, of course, go through the holiday and nobody's going to be back to work until like, you know, the next week. I'm like, so I'm waiting the whole weekend, like on pins and needles. And I'm waiting. And I think it was Monday. It was that following Monday. I got up to use the bathroom at like 5:30 in the morning. And my agent at the time, she was in the East Coast visiting her family. So it was like 8:30 over there for her. And she was getting ready to hop on a flight back to LA. So I get up to use the bathroom, wake up out of my sleep. And, you know, sometimes you check your phone when you get up. So I was like, and I was already on pins and needles anyway. So I was like, let me see what's going on. So I check my phone and I see a long text from her, like a decent sized text. She's like, LJ, you booked Mike. You booked, at the time, it was called Iron. You know, she's like, you booked Iron. And like, blah, blah. I was like, let's go. I'm trying not to scream because it's 5:30. I'm not trying to wake people up in the apartment complex. I'm like, I'm like juiced, super juiced. And she's like, I respond right away. And she calls me. She's like, what are you doing awake? I was like, I was using the bathroom, but now I'm wide awake. Let's go. Let's celebrate. You know what I mean? And then so I'm like, I'm super hyped. Of course, I didn't go back to sleep. You know what I mean? I'm up. I'm just like geeked, right?
Yes.
Out of my mind. And so they flew me down to New Orleans, you know, Hulu, Disney, all that, flew me down to New Orleans. First time I had been flown out like first class for a thing. And I was like, oh, this is the good life. I'm like, okay. So of course, you know, I'm like, I'll take a wine. I'll take another wine. Yes. She's like, you want another one? Yes, I do. So it was cool, man. It was a very cool experience to be down in NOLA. And my bro who played in the league, who I was talking about, he's on the Saints coaching staff. So he was down there, you know what I mean, at the time. So I got to go to a Saints game because of him. He's like, yo, here goes some tickets. And took one of my castmates down to the Saints game and just enjoy NOLA. I got to see him and hang out with him. And I got to work with Trevante Rhodes, which was super dope. But I also got to work with Russell Hornsby, man. And that dude, bro, that dude is a legend. I love Russell Hornsby. Just took me under his wing. Whatever question I had, even if I didn't have a question, just imparting wisdom. Yeah. Even if we just sat with him. I watched him. You know what I mean? I watched almost every move that he made. I would watch this dude. There's a bunch of extras, and this dude would hold court. You know what I mean? Because you know it could get long. Yeah. You know what I mean? People were there over and over and hours and hours and hours and hours and get long. He's just holding court, making everybody laugh, keeping everybody engaged, just being that dude. And I was like, that dude is that dude. Let's go. You know what I mean? So, but it was really cool to work with him, and it was such a fun experience. I developed a lot of friendships from that as well. And I'm very excited. I'm very happy how that turned out too. In my opinion, I've said this to people before, but in my opinion, one of the top 5 greatest character entrances in entertainment history. So character, I gotta watch it, man. Check it out, bro. Yeah. Check it out. The Crocodile and Steve Crocodile Finch. I'm very proud of it. Let's go, dude. Yeah, man. It was a dope experience.
Oh my gosh.
I was so happy I still got to, you know, that's one of those moments where, right, like, you know, one of your no's doesn't mean you're no for good, you know, where you got to trust, you know, like you said, it's like, how do you, you know, embrace those no's and keep going? Yeah. You got to trust that the work that you do and do your best work, that somebody will take notice and they'll remember you. Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Exactly what happened.
Fucking love that, man. As we start to wrap this up, bro, what was, you just like recently went to Budapest or?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
So I went to Budapest.
Okay,
I went to
right.
Budapest for FBI International, Dick
right.
Wolf show. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
legend.
Man, the legend.
Yes.
The legend. Dick Wolf has a lot of money.
Oh, yes.
He has a lot of money.
Yes, he does.
I was like, the place that they put me up at and all this, I was like, what is going on? Like, this is nice. But yeah, man, it was cool. It was ironically because the trip, my first day of shooting was actually on my birthday of this year.
Wow.
So it just felt like one of those moments where everything was, just right where it needed to be when it needed to be. And I'm like, everybody out there just treated me so well. The people were so nice and they were just so welcoming. Even when I was at the hotel on my birthday, they were like, "Oh, happy birthday!" And I'm like, "What the hell?" You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm eating. They put a cake in front of me, like it's a nice cake with happy birthday, candle, all that. I go to shoot. I come back to my room. There's another nice cake with another happy birthday on there. You know what I mean? So it was a trip that I needed right at the perfect time.
Yeah.
For me to take a step back and take a step out of LA just to gain some more perspective. I love Europe, man. I want to live. I want to live in Europe, honestly, for like a year or so. Every time I go out there, I feel like I'm connected to some sort of roots. Wherever I go, it doesn't even matter.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, So it was a very, very cool trip. And the show, the shoot went well, and the episode came out, and it was a nice all spot for me in that episode. Got to throw some people around and be the military arms leader, all that. So that was cool. And I think, for me, that's one of the things that I pride myself on as an artist. Of course, I'm grateful that I'm able to experience something and see like, Budapest and things like that. But to be able to feel like I'm versatile enough as an actor to go from, the Willowbrook playing a adopted brother who's in a guy who's in a foster home who is adopted brother and sister with a girl who's completely opposite of him.
Yeah.
And be able, to play a role like that, and then to go into, a record label exec who wears Rolexes and big chains and $5,000 watches and $5,000 suits, to playing a hype man, a guy from the streets, so playing a hype man for Mike Tyson, to playing a military guy who's able to throw some people around, bark commands, bark orders. And I also, got a role on NCIS LA where I'm playing a kidnapped husband who runs a architect company with his wife. You know what I mean? Like, those, to me, I'm so grateful that people are able to see like, oh, he can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to be able to do that, to be able to show that I'm a versatile actor.
Yeah.
That I'm not just, you don't need to just put me in he's a former football player, former athlete, so let's just stick him in an athlete role. Yeah. Let's just play this again. It's like, nah, like I can do a lot.
Yeah, you can.
I feel like I can do a lot, and I'm grateful that I've been able to run into teachers and mentors and people who have helped me cultivate my craft to the point to where I can do a lot.
I love that. This is the last question, right?
Yeah, of course.
You have had I would say a long road, right? Those 5 years could be very dark, not booking anything, right? Just trying and not succeeding, and having this thing inside of you that is this like guiding light, right? Pushing you, saying, no, I'm not going to fucking give up.
Yeah.
To then in this last year, really you're at the tip of the iceberg, but really starting to crack. Right. You're cracking it, right? You're literally cracking it, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to some kid that is going through a similar situation, trying to break into the industry, but having countless no's and not having the support maybe that you had? What kind of words and things would you tell them to help be their light and guide them?
Don't quit. Don't quit. Because something led you here, right? Yeah. Something lit this fire inside of you to want to do this. So do your best to keep that fire lit, whatever way, shape, form that you can. And constantly realize that you are your hype man, you know?
Yeah.
You have to be. Otherwise, again, who's going to want to pay to see you do anything? This is a multi-million-dollar business. Billion dollar business. People ain't. It costs $30 to go see a movie.
Yeah.
It costs $13 to have a Netflix subscription. You know how much all these subscriptions cost? People are paying good money to see you entertain them.
Yeah.
So you got to believe in yourself, right? And it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard. But nothing worth having is ever easy. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. The struggle is what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
From my experience, that's what I would say. And I would always say, and I can't sit here and act like this is my thing, but God rest his soul to one of my most like heroes, in my opinion, Kobe Bean Bryant.
Yeah.
Stay curious. Always. Stay curious even when you are doubting yourself. Why? Why are you doubting yourself? Let's find the answer. Stay curious about all of that. Because sometimes you just might be having a moment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you might be able to work through that moment instead of letting the avalanche roll.
I love that.
Curiosity, man.
I love that, brother. I love that. I appreciate you, man.
Man, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Absolutely, man. Where can people check out your stuff, your latest movies, shows, and Instagram? Share all that shit.
Yeah. Christmas with You on Netflix. Mike on Hulu. I'm in episode 7. I make my big entrance in episode 7. I'm in 8 as well, but a little bit less. You can follow me on Instagram at Lawrence J. Hughes. Don't have a Twitter.
That's probably a smart thing.
Smart, right?
Yeah, probably smart.
Stay off of the Twitter.
Yes.
So that's my advice to the kids. Stay off Twitter. But yeah, man, at Lawrence J. Hughes on Instagram. And that's pretty much where you can find me. Also, if you any other actors out there, if you do need to get a self-tape done, at Canvas Tapes, that's my Instagram for my self-tapes. I'm more than willing to help people out. You know, if you need, I love helping people with self-tapes. I know how tough it is out there without, having a community. So if you need, let me know. I'm willing to help, willing to lend my hand.
I love that. How do you spell that?
CANVAS tapes.
All right, cool. I was just making sure it wasn't like AT.
Nothing crazy.
Right.
Yeah, or you could just DM me on my own Instagram and say you need a tape done, and I help you out.
Let's go, brother.
Yes,
Thank you so much, man.
Man, appreciate
Let's
it.
Let's go, baby.
Let's get it.
Boom.
We out.
All right, brother.
We out.
Let's go.
Is it right into here?
Yeah, fuck it.
Right into here. Oh, that was fun. Oh, great. Much love to you, man.